Get your passports ready, we're going on a trip. Hi everyone, my name's Ercy and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are doing the Around the World in 80 Pages. And this is a very interesting and unique tag. This was created by Michael over on Fit to Be Read. He is an awesome booktuber. I feel like I say that about all the people that create tags. But on his channel, he primarily reviews science fiction books. And he's working on a project where he's going to be doing like a list of his 150 science fiction books, like his favorite science fiction books. Like, this man is like doing the thing. But anyways, he created this tag, so I will leave his version of the tag along with his channel linked in the description box of this video. But yeah, this is a tag where the theme is centered around geography and travel, and we get to talk about both books and booktubers in this tag. But there's a number of questions, so let's just get on into it. So the first question is, your favorite book set or with reference to Eastern Europe or Asia? So this is our first stop of our trip around the world. So for this one, looking at my Goodreads list, the first one that immediately popped in my head was Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. So this book in particular is one of my favorites. It's a Mulan retelling, part of the Twisted Tales series. The Twisted Tales series as a whole is definitely not my favorite series, but this book in the series is definitely a must read. If you love Mulan, if you love retellings, like, this is such a great book, and it had me hooked from page one. So the only change in this is that during the battle against the Huns, instead of Mulan getting hurt, Captain Shang gets hurt, and so she has to travel to the underworld to go and save him. I just love that book, and so obviously it takes place in China, and that's where it will fulfill the Asia side of this prompt. But looking at my Goodreads list, I don't have a lot of books that take place in Eastern Europe, so I kind of need to fix that. So this is a good reminder to go and try to go outside of my comfort zone and read more, maybe Eastern European books, maybe some Russian literature and stuff. So I need to get on that. The next question for this prompt is to name a booktuber from a country other than your own that you regularly watch. So I live in the United States. For this one, I'm going to give you guys two. So the first one, I'm going to, of course, shout out my booktube friend Larry from Larry Has Opinions. He is an Italian living in London, so we got a 2-for-1 answer here. But I love his channel. He talks about all different kinds of books. I feel like that's why I relate to his channel a lot, because I kind of read all over the place. We both read pretty diversely, and he gives really great reviews on his channel, very well thought out, so I will leave him linked down below as well. And the next person I'm going to give you guys, his name is Saajid, and his channel is called Books Are My Social Life. So he is from Trinidad, and he's another one that I regularly watch, pretty much because he likes to recommend books from Caribbean authors, Muslim authors, authors that are from the LGBTQ plus community. His goal is to read diversely as well. So that's why I really like his channel a lot. He recently did a video where he went to different bookstores in Trinidad, and he was talking with some of the owners. And the one that I loved the most was the third one. And this is like this older man. He's got his little hut on the beach filled with books. I love that. And I really like his channel. So I will also leave him linked in the description box down below for you guys to check out. So here is our first 80 pages reference in this tag. So the question is, a book you DNF'd before 80 pages. And this one, I feel really bad saying it, but because I don't often DNF books, or I don't finish books. But this one, I just wasn't into it. I wasn't feeling. And this one is called Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s by Tim O'Neill and Dan Piepenbring. So the reason why I DNF'd this one is just the format. I feel like if I watched this as a documentary, I would have been all in it. I feel like when it comes to true crime and stuff, it has to be a very unique kind of book for me to get into it, because I can't think of a true crime book that I was absolutely engrossed in, just because I get confused with all the names and picking up on all the little inconsistencies that the authors tend to point out in the books that deal with the crime or whatever it is that's going on. I follow along with those better if it was like a documentary or some kind of video. I'm more visual when it comes to crime stories. I mean, one of my favorite shows is Law & Order Special Victims Unit. That's like my favorite TV series, and I can rewatch that all the time. But I don't think I would be able to read those episodes. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like it was more of a me thing rather than the book. So I stopped reading this one around the 50, 60 page mark. I tried, but I just couldn't get into it. I'm sorry. All right. Question number 4. A book you settled for and picked up at an airport or anywhere and ended up pleasantly surprised with. So this one I didn't pick up at the airport, but I picked up during my trip. So I went to go visit my mom in New York, and one of the books that I wound up listening to while in New York was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And this is a historical fiction book. This book was surprisingly good. I really thought I wasn't going to like it or get into it, but it's very captivating. The story, the crime. Like, I know I just ragged on the last book because it was a crime book, but this one, it's like a combination of a murder mystery and coming of age story. And I feel like that's why I really like this book. So this story is about a girl named Kaya, and she sort of raised herself in the marshlands of this fictional coastal town in North Carolina. And like I said, I think the coming of age aspect of this book was one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this book. And on top of that, I guess it fits with the theme of this video, is like it's talking about North Carolina and like a coastal town in it of North Carolina. Even though I lived in North Carolina for a number of years, it wasn't a place that I totally took advantage of, unfortunately. Like, we kind of traveled outside of North Carolina a lot while we were there, but it was just good to learn a little more about the culture and stuff of the marshlands of the town that it was talking about, because I believe the author pulled a lot of stuff from tales and stuff from people that lived in these areas and stuff. So it was surprisingly good. I really thought I wasn't going to get into it, but it was actually pretty good. All right, question number 5. In Jules Verne's classic, Around the World in 80 Days, Phileas Fogg is a perfectionist, more concerned with his perfection than the amazing places he travels. Describe in which ways you are a perfectionist when it comes to any of your bookish habits. So this is going to be really funny because it's totally hypocritical. But I need my books, when I buy them at a bookstore and they're new, I need them to be like in perfect condition. I don't want to see a dent. I don't want to see anything on it, but it makes no sense because I write in my books. So only I can mess up my books. Not even mess up my books. I put my thoughts in the books. But if I buy it at a store, it needs to be pristine. And it's so stupid. It makes no sense because I write all over it. So a perfect example of this, when I went to go buy this book, Semblance of Sins by Josiah Bancroft, I went with my daughter, and you know, she was 3 at the time, so she's pulling stuff, trying to grab other books, and I'm trying to make sure she's not wrecking the books. So I grabbed this one really quick because I was definitely more concerned with her. And then when I came home, I was so upset because there was like little dents here. There was like a fold over. It's barely noticeable, but there was like a fold here, and I was so upset. I was like, should I return this? And my husband's like, what is wrong with you? You write in your books. I'm like, I know. I definitely do. I write all over my books. Like it makes no sense. But it just bothered me so much. It bothered me so much. It makes no sense. It's one of my things. I'm sorry. All right, the next stop on our trip around the world, we are heading to Africa. So name your favorite book or books set in or with references to Africa. So the first one that popped into my head immediately was Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. This is a science fiction book that takes place in Ghana. Our protagonist, Sankofa, encounters an alien relic, and it sort of transforms her. And she becomes sort of this mythical, legendary type character to the people that encounter her because of the gift that is bestowed upon her after touching this relic. Another one that's a coming of age story. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Really a unique story as well. And it's really short. It's a novella. So if you get a chance to listen to it or even read it, I listened to the audiobook of it, and the narrator does an amazing job with narrating the story. Highly recommend. Again, another one of my favorites. Question number 7. Judging by only the first 80 pages, the best book you have read, and then by the last 80 pages, the best book you've read. So for this one, I know I already talked about it earlier for one of the questions, but I'm going to go again with Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. Now, this book picks up, if you've seen the Mulan movie, right? It picks up right in the middle of the battle with the Hun. So they're in the mountains, and immediately you're thrown into the action, and you're in the story, and you're feeling the tension between these characters while they're about to get pulverized by the Hun. And it just picks, I mean, the rest of the story is amazing too, but you know, it just starts off with a bang, and I thought it was so good. So definitely Reflection. And then as far as the last 80 pages, now this is another one where, of course, the whole book is great. But I'm going to go with A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, the first book of the Song of Ice and Fire. If you know, you know what happens at the end of this book. So there's a lot of buildup in the story because obviously it's the first book of a very long series. All of the books are massive. This particular edition is the illustrated one, so that's why it's a little bigger than what you'll normally see for this book. But the last 80 pages, or even like towards the end of this book, George R.R. Martin just solidifies himself as an author that just doesn't care about your feelings. He does not care if you like a character or not, because if you know, you know. So I'm going to go with this one as my choice for this prompt. Question number 8. A book you love that prominently features an ethnic or local cuisine in some way, and it's prominently featured, or just even a standout cameo. And so for this prompt, I'm going to go with The Fire and High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Now, this is a YA contemporary book. Again, out of my comfort zone. I don't usually read in this genre, but I really love this author. The main character of this book, her name is Imani Santiago, and she is a single mom, Puerto Rican, a teenager, and she has a passion for cooking. So obviously it makes sense for this prompt. This is a book that surprised me with how good it was. Our protagonist struggles with balancing her responsibilities with her passions. But throughout the book, our narrator, because obviously she has a passion for cooking, she gives little recipes of the food that she is talking about in the book. So of course it made me hungry for some classic Boricua food. Quick side note, I used to live across the hall from my best friend, or one of my best friends, and her family is Puerto Rican. And they used to make some bomb food. Like, my family's Dominican, so very similar cuisine, but there's some things that are Puerto Rican foods, Puerto Rican staples, that is just so good. I mean, even my husband is half Puerto Rican too, so my mother-in-law makes some bomb food too. So reading this book made me like call my mother-in-law and be like, can you tell me how to make your pernil again? So good. So that's my answer for this question. Question number 9. The last travel or nonfiction book you looked at or read featuring a city other than your own, and do you have a story? So for this one, surprisingly, I didn't have a nonfiction book that I've read. A lot of the nonfiction books, I mean, aside from stuff that I read in school and stuff, but the ones that I have linked in my story graph and in Goodreads, all of them were from the United States. So I need to fix that. This is something I need to remedy. But the one that I've been thinking about reading for a long time is called The Open Veins of Latin America by Eduardo Galeano. And this is a nonfiction book that explores the various ways in which Latin America has been exploited over time because of various goods that are exported out of these regions. So as a Dominican American, I feel like I need to do better in terms of learning about the history of Latin America. I mean, like, I took a few courses in college for history, for my history major and stuff. I've always wanted to learn more, and it's one of those things, like, I have to do it on my own. And when it comes to that, there's always, you know, reading for pleasure and reading for knowledge, and it's always something that I wind up putting off, and I need to stop doing that. So this is definitely one of the books that I definitely want to get to have a better understanding of the way that the politics and the economies of Latin American cultures or Latin American societies have been shaped over time. So yeah, that is my answer for this question. Question number 10 definitely relates to my answer to the last question. So any book you have read set in or references either Central or South America. Again, I know my last question can satisfy this answer, but I'll give you another one. So one that I've read not too long ago was Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. And this is a historical fiction book, or I think it's contemporary. It's either historical or contemporary, but literary fiction. So this is a story about a Colombian family torn apart by the idea of the American dream. So I definitely highly recommend this book if you want a great immigration story. I feel like each of the characters in this book represents a sort of identity that Latin American people take on. I definitely saw some of these within my own family. So I feel like this is a great book if you want to learn about how the American dream impacts different communities. So there you go. Question number 11. Your favorite book referencing another world, universe, or dimension. So for this one, it's going to be a little unique. I'm going to actually go with The Oasis that is featured throughout Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And this is another science fiction book. So The Oasis is pretty much this virtual reality video game kind of thing. And you pretty much create like a second life in this game. So I really thought the idea of the Oasis was really cool. And I actually feel like the way that our technology is shaping now, I feel like we're on our way to getting our own version of the Oasis within like my lifetime, the way that technology has developed so quickly over time. So I always thought the idea of the Oasis was really cool, but obviously what we see in this book, it can be very dangerous. But I still think it'd be really cool to play in the Oasis. So that's my answer for this one. Last question before we get into the tags. In Rita Gelman's Tales of a Female Nomad, Rita left an elegant life in LA to follow her dream of connecting with people in cultures all over the world. Your dream read to read in any dream location, real or fictional, of your choosing. So I don't know about my dream read, because obviously the second I knock it off my TBR, it's no longer my dream read because I already read it. So I guess a book that I really want to read. So I'm going to go with Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. And I think what would be really cool with this would be to read this book while visiting, I guess this would be another fictional place I'd want to go to, but going to the setting of Artemis, also by Andy Weir. So in Artemis, the setting of this book is on a lunar, so we have a colony on the moon, and pretty much there are places throughout the colony where you can just look out your window and you see the Earth. And I think that'd be really cool to go see. I think that would be really cool. And I think reading a science fiction book while being on the moon would be really cool. So I guess that would be my answer for this question. So not only did Michael create the questions for the tag itself, he actually made prompts for the tags. So tag challenge number 1, tag a channel that has 80 or fewer subscribers. If you cannot, then tag a channel with more than 80,000. So for this one, I am going to tag Words on Paper. I believe as I'm recording this, he has less than 80 right now, but I feel like he's growing pretty fast. He's a channel I recently discovered, and he talks a lot about horror and thriller books, so you are tagged. Tag challenge number 2, tag a channel you like that has reviewed any of Verne's novels or any of the novels you mentioned in the tag. So for this one, I'm going to go with Michael K. Vaughan. I think he did a review of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and I mean, he does really great reviews on his channel. He does tags, he does reviews, he unboxings, he does it all. So I would definitely recommend his channel. Also Words on Paper. I would definitely recommend his channel. I will have it linked below. But Michael, you are tagged. Tag challenge number 3 is to tag the 8 channels you watched the most in the last 80 days. I'm just gonna go with 4 at this time. So the first person I'm gonna tag is Bryce over at Shelf Centered. I feel like he would have a really good time with this tag. I'm also going to tag Gregory LaPerche. I feel like his answers for the nonfiction sections of this tag would be really interesting. I'm also going to tag Larry over on Larry Has Opinions. I know I talked about you in one of the answers, but I'm also going to tag you for this one. And I'm also going to tag Johanna. I think her answers to this tag would be really interesting as well. So everyone that I am tagging will be linked in the description box of this video. Everyone that I mentioned will be in the description box. There's just going to be so many links for you guys to check out, and for good reason. I need you guys to look at all of them. I need you to watch the videos. I need you to subscribe to them. I need you to comment on their videos. I need you to just go watch them. So with that, I am concluding this video, the Around the World in 80 Pages tag created by Michael. So thank you, Michael from Fit to Be Read, for challenging me to do this video. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.